Rabbi Shmuel Boteach, and Taped with Rabbi Doug is next.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight.
But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're gonna watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug. Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about
So, welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you could be with us today. My guest today is Rabbi Jeffrey Schein. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
A pleasure to have you with us. He is the director of the Covenant Project. He is the senior education consultant for the Kaplan Center for Jewish Peoplehood. He was in Cleveland for many years and well known in his field of Jewish education. And he is the author of Text Me, Ancient Jewish Wisdom Meets Contemporary Technology. And he and Brian Amkraut assisted him in this book. And you're really a Jewish educator, but you somehow or another have found a way to connect the world of technology to Judaism itself and make it meaningful in a Jewish way. Because a lot of people say, you know, at least in the, especially in the more observant world, you know, technology is taking away from Jewish learning. Technology is in the way of Jewish learning. However, I want you to know, here in Chicago, in the Chicago area, the Ida Crown Jewish Academy, which moved from the neighborhood that we're in right now here in Chicago to Skokie, has the most modern technological campus with computers everywhere. All the kids carry iPads around in school or some kind of pads, to access books, to access technology in their learning. And so there are differences of opinions on whether that's good or not. There are other Jewish day schools in the area that teach computers, but they have no internet access in their schools because they don't believe in it. So tell me first of all, what was your inspiration in writing Text Me, Ancient Jewish Wisdom Meets Contemporary Technology, and how did it inspire you?
Thank you. It's a great question. It inspired me because it's the two worlds in which I live. I'm deeply involved in the world of Jewish text as a teacher, as a rabbi, and I'm also deeply involved with technology, in part because I choose to, and even if I didn't, I couldn't escape it. It suffuses the landscape. And it dawned on me as I was working with some educators on a set of family programs to enhance the dialogue between teens and parents about their using social media and their profiles. It dawned on me that there was a profound relationship that was embodied in a kind of double entendre, because after all, Text Me can be this book of Talmud that I'm now holding up. That is a sacred text. And it also can be
The cell phone
the
text.
phone, my smartphone. That I get texts from both places. So being someone who believes in the complexity of life, the rich complexity, I began to unravel the way in which these two uses of Text Me were mutually supportive, enriching, synergistic, and also the disjunctions between the two, where one version of Text Me might have me act one way, and the other version, the version that comes from my spiritual and ethical filters and from Jewish text, might encourage me to do something very different. And I thought, rather than simply, it would be very chutzpahdik to sit in judgment and say, yes technology or no technology, the better task was to wrestle with the best uses and know that it can be either a bracha or klala, and
A blessing or a curse.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So that's the origins, and I do say in the very beginning, I'll begin and end with things of a very personal note. So just yesterday at the rabbinic seminar that I...
Yeah, he spoke to the Chicago Board of Rabbis yesterday.
Right. So early in the meeting, while we're schmoozing and eating lunch, a couple people come up to me, a couple colleagues, really nice people, say, I can't wait for you to tell me about this or that. And I had to step back and make my introduction to the group the double reality of technology in our lives. The first is, it would be sheer chutzpah to think that anyone could stop and make a marker in time and make a definitive statement about the technologies we use or don't use, precisely because they change so quickly. So to cite just one example, in 2012 when I began to develop the book.
Ages ago, yeah.
Ages ago, well, ages for sure, by technological and contemporary standards. There was a deep concern among the parents of Jewish teens about the way their kids were going on social media and the social media profiles.
And there still is, but it's different.
It's different, and in part it's different because the technology itself changed. The mindset of Jewish parents, a mixture of true love and true neuroticism, all put together was, my God, what if this brilliant child of mine wants to get into Harvard, Yeshiva, Brandeis, you name the college, and the admissions officers discovered something he or she inadvertently put lines with them forever. Well,
This is not a joke.
It's not a joke, but by 2013, Snapchat, a new platform, had come about which allowed those things to come down in the course of time. It wasn't perfect, but the nature and the depth of the worry shifted. So it's always changing. A book in technology that aims to be about the content and the tools of technology is outdated between the time you think of it and the time you complete it. But what isn't outdated, I hope, is what the book is really about. The gifts of self-awareness, perspective, and balance that come out of being able to step back and assess the impact of technology on our lives, l'tovah, for the good, and l'ra'ah, in ways that it's not for the good. And that actually is the subject of a short graphic novella that was created by my daughter and son-in-law, who are videographers, and starring my grand doggy, Scully. And it's an attempt, my wife would explain, that my educational credo is that the art of education is involved with making the simple complex and making the complex simple. That's what good educators do. And this book is sufficiently complex that it needed a complement that sort of, orego achat, on one foot, could tell you what the book is about, and that's why we created It's Complicated, Scully, and the Smartphone.
Can we take a look at that right now?
Of course.
All right, let's take a look at that right now. Stay with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug, and we'll be right back.
Since the State of Israel was established, it has been leading the world in the forwarding of technology, leading the world in the advancement of agriculture, computer science, electronics, genetics, medicine, solar energy, optics, and various fields of engineering. However, chapter 20, verse 6 and 7 in Eov can offer us a warning of advancing too far and too fast. Through his eminence ascends to heaven, and his head touches the clouds, he will perish forever. Much of the advancement in technology is to try to lessen our need for reliance on others, and especially to try and make us forget about the need to rely on Hashem, and to thank him for all that he does for us. This pasuk is clearly warning us about trying to become too much like Hashem. Does that mean that we shouldn't embrace technology? Somet is one example of an organization aimed at combining modern technology with halacha. They aim to create inventions which combine the best aspects of the modern world with the world of Judaism, ranging from pens that doctors can use on Shabbat to baby sensors which are Shabbat friendly, and a Shabbat friendly phone to be used in the army. Not only does the Somet Institute aim to find solutions to difficult halachic issues, but it also aims at combining the modern world with Judaism. It does not go to one extreme by forbidding everything modern, and does not go to the other extreme by embracing modernity while leaving Judaism behind.
I'm Rabbi Akiva, and you're watching Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're back here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. I am here with Rabbi Jeffrey Schein. He is the author of Text Me, Ancient Jewish Wisdom Meets Contemporary Technology. When you do your presentation to groups about your book and about what you've been educating people about when it comes to technology and Judaism, what do you think is the main focus of connecting Judaism, Torah, Talmud, scriptures to technology?
So
before I tell you, I want to tell you there's a contest right now going on. I just read about here in the world of Talmud study, because the 7-year siyum of completing the Talmud is coming up in just a few weeks. And they have now saying, if you can't learn Daf Yomi, 1 page a day of Talmud, how about 1 page a week? So those people who sign up to learn 1 page of Talmud a week, Daf HaShavua, as they call it, are in a contest. Anybody who signs up this week and next week, I think, to win an iPad with the complete Art Scroll Talmud, Schottenstein Talmuds loaded onto it. Technology right there on an iPad.
So the paradox that the book deals with is that we simultaneously over and underuse technology. In the liberal Jewish world, the non-Orthodox world in which I live, it's underused. There are so many resources, just as you said, that can guide you, to lift you to new levels of celebration, and people don't access it easily. Their understanding of technology is it's about their smartphones, their business, their social networks. But the truth is that there's treasures there, so guiding families how they use them, whether it's Safaria, that can give them
I love Safaria.
There you go.
I love Safaria.
Or my Jewish learning was merged with Safaria. Rich, unaccessed resources, underutilized. On the other hand, people do overspend time with technology, on games and things that arguably, in a traditional frame, could be called bitul zman, the wasting of time. And a very smart young woman, an 8th grader who I taught for her capstone essay on teens and technology, wrote a 6-word novel. That's an attempt to put into 6 words, sort of like Ernest Hemingway's equivalent of Al Rego on 1 foot. And she said, technology helps me to procrastinate. It's a very smart young woman. There are so many opportunities that the line between what gives us Neshivat Nefesh, a little break, playing some good games and the like, and what takes us down the dark hole is very slippery. It's a slippery slope.
Absolutely true.
So dealing with that paradox is important. Scully advised us as he went off to play Frisbee in the graphic novella to always be thoughtful, always ask ourselves, how does technology influence us? And it does. This dates back to the wonderful work of Marshall McLuhan, who wrote an important book called The Medium, and everyone says the medium is the message. It's not the title of the book. The title of the book is The Medium is the Massage, because he understood, as neuroscience now understands more deeply, that our technologies rewire our brains. That's the message of neuroscience. Adam Alter has written a book called Irresistible, where he compares the addictions clinically defined to what can happen with social media, and that little bing on our smartphone releases the same dopamine that good lovemaking in chocolate also releases.
How true, how true.
So the
it even wakes us up at night, makes us want to go and see what it is.
The volume is grounded in two master texts.
Uh-huh.
The first is from the Talmud, but a rather unusual, different reading from the Talmud about what is a siyag. Siyag, when we usually understand, is offense. Usually we think it's something that distances us from sin, from the Ve'era.
I'll give an example. A siyag the Torah is the halacha of muksa. Something that you cannot use on Shabbat because it's forbidden to use it, such as electricity and things like that, or writing, which is forbidden on Shabbat. The laws of muksa set up by the rabbis as a siyag, as a fence around it, is we can't even touch a pencil, we can't even touch a flashlight because we're not allowed to use them.
Right.
So that's an example.
It's a preventative measure. But there is a wonderful midrash, and you can find it in Bialik and Revnitsky's Sefer Haggadah, Book of Legends, that says, what's siyag really? And it tells the story in the midrash of, if you're a shepherd and you're looking after your sheep, imagine you're inside of a fence and you turn to the left. Well, you lose track of the sheep that are over here. You turn back here, you lose track of here. If you stand outside that fence, you see the picture of the whole. And that's what I mean by siyag. And for instance, in that chapter about siyag, I share the story of Tiffany Schlein, who's a member of Reboot, a millennial group who has launched Shabbat Unplugged. Well, if you're Shomer Shabbat, you're already unplugged. But for many, perhaps the majority of American Jews, Shabbat, even if they connect to it, doesn't unplug them. But it should, perhaps, in the digital age. So she tells the story of, for all her love of connection and appreciation, she's quite the videographer. She originated the awards for the Webby Awards. Okay, so she's very appreciative. But she says, you know, one day I catch a plane from San Francisco to New York to visit my oldest friend from high school. I sit down, we're having a lovely lunch, and all of a sudden I realize I've been away from my phone and unconnected for 6 hours, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I fake having to go to the bathroom because I am so worried about what I may have missed. So those aren't our most productive habits of mind, and having a siyag is valuable. And then the other text, and I'll describe this shortly. I'm actually going to ask you to help me with that, Rabbi Doug. There is a famous Hasidic text about having two different kinds of notes in your pocket. Could you give me these 4 notes?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay,
so this is a text for the digital age. The first 2 people will remember. You are made just a little lower than the angels. Bishuli nivrat ha'olam. You're almost godlike. You should keep this in one pocket. You should remember from the book of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, human beings are made of dust and return to dust. Right? And that tension keeps us both humble and proud at the same time. Well, I believe in the digital age, and especially, this is a prop I use with my students who I teach. I'm holding a pair of jeans, and you might notice, right, 1, 2, 3, 4 pockets. And that's because in the digital age, I believe, we need a 3rd and a 4th note. One of them reads, remember, human and Jewish life can be made spiritually, intellectually, and ethically so much richer with digital resources. Just what you talked about. But there's a 4th note, and it reads, remember, your devices and new technologies can do harm as well as good. They can distract you from your godly work. So the book, in a way, is about keeping balance between these four notes in our life and giving people the tools, largely but not exclusively drawn from Musar tradition, of how to be reflective about everything, and these midot should be extended to our digital lives.
I think that in my life, what you're saying is so true, because I look forward to Shabbat. I think because I don't have to find out what's on my telephone. I don't have to read my email. I don't have to pay any bills.
Exactly.
I don't have to answer the phone. I think that I look forward to Shabbat. A lot of looking forward to Shabbat is those things, that being unplugged, like you mentioned, is so true. And I want to tell you some things that technology, you know, you remind me of things that are in my pocket and on my phone. For example, I have a Siddur on my phone. I can pray for Shachrit, Mincha, or Ma'ariv in a hotel, on the street, wherever I am when the time comes that I have to do that, because it's with me. And when we're in a group of people at a wedding or at an event and there's a lot of Jewish people and they say, let's have a Mincha minyan or let's have a Ma'ariv minyan, I can pull out my Siddur, even though I know it by heart, I can pull out my Siddur on my phone and daven with them. Because I have that with me. Also, just remembering when I go on an airplane, I pull out my Siddur, my phone app, to read the Tfilat HaDerech, the prayer that you say when you're going on a journey. And also, one great thing is, Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targum. When I'm on an airplane, one of the ways that I take the time of which I have to find time during the week when I'm at home, is I have on my phone the whole Tanakh, and with English translation too, so I can read through the Parsha a couple of times during that airplane trip and read the whole translation through it also, and do that while I'm on the plane. So those things are so important. And not only that, I have a tikkun, so I can practice the Torah reading if I'm reading Torah this week.
Too.
And if you click on it, and you're not sure how something should sound, it'll play it for you in the correct trope. I mean, it's amazing what technology has in our
And
pockets.
they say Gedolim, it's the time and season of miracles,
Yeah.
right? Hanukkah's right around the corner, and technology provides many of them. I think, Rabbi Doug, if it's okay, I'd like to read a short
Please
selection from
do.
the
I would
book.
love that. I would love that. We're going to hear something from Text Me, Ancient Jewish Wisdom Meets Contemporary Technology. This is Rabbi Jeffrey Schein, who's with us, the author, and he's going to share some words with us from his book.
So it's from the end of the book, what I call a reprise, and I try to go over the themes that have been introduced, and here I go back.
Perspective on Rabbi Soloveitchik.
So I know many of your listeners, readers, probably know the Rav.
Some of them have never heard of him. So, his brother was here in Chicago for many years, Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik.
Yes.
So people who studied in Brisk here in Chicago over the years, or went to Skokie Yeshiva when he was the Rosh Yeshiva there, they all certainly know the Soloveitchik family very well as people who went to Yeshiva University and so on.
Sure, and his Lonely Man of Faith is an important book. And in the opening chapters, he talks about the difference between Adam in the first chapter, first parak of Breshit, and Adam in the second chapter. He calls them Adam 1 and Adam 2. And this is related to my coming to terms with the best and the worst in technology. So I'm starting in a more personal note. It was 1969, and I was finishing a year studying in Israel. I received some bad news. There had been a huge oil spill off the Santa Barbara coast. The scenes of oil-soaked birds mixed to my mind with sweeter pictures of the Santa Barbara beaches that had been the playground for my meeting and falling in love with my wife Deborah when we were both undergraduates since the University of California, Santa Barbara. Later, I would come to appreciate some significant good that came out of this environmental disaster. After focusing on the external idiosyncrasies of the event, the plans, what's an oil spill, deeper, more structural issues were addressed. The EPA was formed in response to these disasters. Some works for the EPA. Like this and the burning of the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland. Profundity added to the philosophy of environmentalism by the powerful concept of the tragedy of the commons, as developed by Garen Hardin, a professor at the University of California, about the difficulty of sharing and how easy it is for greed to grab up more than our share of what's common resources. My first response, however, was all pain and emotion. My beach had been spoiled. to the extent that I could place any cognitive frame around it at all, I remembered a meeting of religious theologians at Claremont College in 1967. The group proclaimed boldly that the Judeo-Christian tradition of elevating humans above the rest of creation, as commanded or permitted, arguably, in chapter 1, verse 28, that you shall have mastery and conquer, was at the heart of the impending crisis in our relationship to the natural world. The triumph of Adam 1, Soloveitchik's Adam 1, the majestic Adam who ruled the rest of the creation, had created quite a mess for ourselves. I then go on to talk about, for Soloveitchik, Adam 1 is an inner state of being, and so is Adam 2. Adam 2 is the master of connection and appreciation and awe, and he's clearer than many of his disciples that they need to be in dialectic tension. And what I go on to write about is that in the digital age, Adam 2, ironically, with this constant sense of connectedness, is on steroids. Because everyone, and I work with teens, want to be connected. Everyone's afraid of what they will miss. So I talk about the need to, I'll go down to the end, to strike a different note. As I complete this chapter, I have just finished the Israel ride. The Israel ride is a 200-mile, 5-day ride from Jerusalem and a lot in support of Chazon, the Jewish Sustainability Lab, and the Arava Institute, a group that under the banner of Nature Knows No Boundary brings together Israeli Jews, Israeli Palestinians, Jordanians, African Jews to study common environmental problems. In doing some teaching within this beautiful landscape of the Arava as backdrop, I realize I can put the whole book al regel achat in a simpler way. The biblical description of Yom Kippur was acharei mot, and sending the goat out to the wilderness. What we need to do in our age is to take the excessive sides of Adam 1, the side that thinks they can conquer and master without consequences, and say, lef la'azazel. Go out to the wilderness because we need time to regain our balanced perspective and self-awareness and to give the world a chance to survive.
How beautiful, how beautiful. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. That was beautiful. So interesting. If you want to know more about Text Me, Ancient Jewish Wisdom Meets Contemporary Technology, you can email us at info@tvrabbi.com. I will forward that to Rabbi Jeffrey Schein, and I know he'll get back to you personally to tell you anything you want to know about the book. If you want to see our show on the web, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com. You can also see former shows. I want to thank you once again for being on the show. Rabbi Jeffrey Schein, the author of Text Me, Ancient Jewish Wisdom Meets Contemporary Technology. And we hope to see you next week right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
Rabbi Doug on your TV show, where he's the rabbi for me. Anytime you need, you're gonna get married or you're gonna die. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug. Gonna see Rabbi Doug on the TV tonight.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.